The family of 8-year-old Tazne van Wyk has spoken out for the first time following her murder. Her body was found in a stormwater pipe on the N1 near Worcester last night. Van Wyk was last seen 2 weeks ago while walking to the shops in Ravensmead, Cape Town. A 54-year-old man suspect was arrested in the Eastern Cape earlier this week. The man was allegedly out on parole when Van Wyk went missing. He'll appear in the Goodwood Magistrate Court tomorrow. Our reporter Vanessa Poonah is at the family home of Tazne van Wyk. Let's go live there. Vanessa, I'm running out of breath reading this story. I just can't get used to another child dying, one after the other. And I also watched the live broadcast there of the family reacting to the horrible news that their child is no more, found in that water pipe drain. Please just draw us a picture of the community at large. Surely this is something that shocked that community.
Matuba, yes, and I think you are exactly right. Not only are you shocked this morning when waking up, we woke up to the news that Tazne's body had been found. And I think the issue of child murders is one which reverberates across the country because that we've heard in the sentiments from Tazne van Wyk's family. You would have seen it a short while ago. Her distraught father not even able to address the media, to speak to us. We understand that her mother had collapsed and had been taken to hospital after learning of this news, and I know, obviously checking social media and so on, that up until very recently the family had every hope to believe that their young 8-year-old girl would be indeed found alive. This morning, of course, or late last night, their dreams shattered. A young child, a learner from the Uricon Primary School 2 weeks ago, went around to the tuck shop to buy what we understand was an ice lolly, and then never seen again. Worcester, of course, being kilometers away from this community here in Connaught Estate in Alsis River. And when I just refer to the statements and to the sentiments of Samantha Viljoen, the aunt who spoke to the media a short while ago, first and foremost, the question that she's asking on behalf of the Van Wyk as well as Manuel families is why are people who have been paroled why are they not being checked up on? Why are people that had committed offences, why are they being released back into communities? And this, of course, is a call that we've heard from various civil society organisations over the past few years. Just last week, I spoke to Lucinda Evans, for example. She's a child rights and a woman and a gender-based violence activist. And she was also talking about the issue of parolees that come out into communities to re-offend again. Some very strong sentiments coming from the family, Matuba, I can tell you, even going as far as addressing President Cyril Ramaphosa and calling for the reinstatement of the death penalty. This, of course, behind me, you'll see quite a number of members of the community here of Connaught Estate. They had come out today not just to pay their respects to a family in absolute grief and mourning today, but they themselves, speaking to some of the people here, telling us that they're also living in fear because they don't know whether their children will become the next victims of violence, the next victims of rape, and the next victims of child abuse. Of course, Connaught Estate, a poverty-stricken area. If we could just perhaps show you more or less, if you can have a look-see to the kind of structures. Most of these homes had been built in the 70s, 80s. It's an area on the Cape Flats. In the far distance, you'll see those high-rise flats and apartments. The maisonettes, of course, or the homes around here, just depicting the kind of poverty that this area is going through. Unemployment is rife. We've heard from the community that there are very little facilities for children to play at. There's a park just across the road from me, but I understand that even their children are not safe. So yes, a distraught family today, and I'm sad to say not the only one that I've had to speak to this year. Just a couple of weeks ago, I've had to do an interview with the mother of Michaela Williams, a young child whose body was also found, and she also murdered allegedly at the hands of a repeat offender, someone who had been paroled. So that, of course, is a huge issue that is facing South African society. Shortly, we spoke to Reverend Chris Nissen from the Human Rights Commission here in the Western Cape, and he was pressing home the point of the need for a commission into child killings, not just in Cape Town or the Western Cape, but some something that could be taken countrywide? Because we know, of course, we've heard and we understand about the murders, for example, in Limpopo, the father who had killed his 4 children. So these are the kind of systemic issues that South Africans wake up to almost on a daily basis. And today here in Connaught Estate, it's this community who find themselves reeling.
And Vanessa, before I let you go, let's just, on the suspect, we know that he's fresh from prison. Other than that, what else do we know about the suspect?
Well, I understand that it's a 54-year-old man who had lived in the area, and he was, the family says that they don't know this man, but he's not a stranger to the community, as I understand it. As I understand it, he was in the community, whether it was for a couple of weeks or months, and he is expected to appear in the Goodwood Magistrates Court tomorrow. Of course, his arrest in Cradock in the Eastern Cape on Monday. He appeared in court there on Tuesday, and yesterday he was transported to Cape Town, and then, of course, during the course of the evening, he had then pointed out the spot where the child's body lay in Worcester, very, very far from the community that we find ourselves in right now.
And you said this is not even the first, maybe even not the last incident that you're going to record of this nature. In your experience, Vanessa, tell me, does it seem like we are a reactive society than being proactive? In the previous stories that you've covered, do you think, were there any measures that were put in place that these perpetrators somehow got through?
Look, Matuba, I'm loath to give my opinion on the matter because we're reporting factually. But I can tell you that civil society organizations had been calling for the longest time for the issue of the parole board to come to the fore. That more stringent measures must be taken. And that's not saying that those offenders who had been rehabilitated in prisons or correctional facilities should not then be allowed to restart their lives. However, that if it is a nature of sexual abuse or the abuse or murder, especially of children, that stronger measures must be taken to monitor these people. And then secondly, or if maybe not more importantly, Matuba, is to consult with the communities into which these previous offenders will be released back into, because that seems to be a general consensus from the community, is that very often they feel that they have no say about who is allowed back as a neighbor, as someone living next door, as someone living down the road, and who their children come into contact with. So that is definitely something that perhaps needs to be debated and spoken about, because I would not like to say that this won't be the last a case like this, because I sincerely hope that it is. All I can tell you is that it's not easy. It's very difficult as a mother, as a woman, as a person living in South Africa to continuously report on the murders and the rapes of young children. It leaves one questioning society, and it leaves one wondering how perpetrators, especially those that had offended before, are allowed to reoffend a second and third time.
I'm sorry you had to be assigned to such a story. Very difficult story indeed there, Vanessa. We're going to leave it there for now, and I'm sure we will get a wrap of what happened today and going forward on the criminal case in this very story. That's our reporter, SABC News reporter Vanessa Poonah, live for us there in the Western Cape. Now, for